Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome to episode 6 of how to be a 3D animator. In this episode, we're going to go through the life of an animator. We're going to talk about what you do from when you get up, what you do at work, all the different steps to being an animator, and just the difference between being an animator and like any other job. Working in an animation studio is like any other 9-to-5 job, but it's fun. Your coworkers are all a bunch of nerds. No, not those kind of nerds. More like this. Yeah, that's me. It's me in my class, back in Sheridan. Yep, so everyone's a nerd with the same interests. They got the same sense of dark humor most of the time. There's almost always a group chat where memes are shared or people are complaining about their work problems, which you can reply with memes. There's also core hours, usually around 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., where all the big meetings happen. Outside of this, usually studios are pretty flexible in regards to when you come in and when you leave. So for example, you could come in at 10 a.m. and leave at 5, but as long as you get all of your work done. Now again, not all studios are like this, but the ones I've been to so far have been pretty flexible. Just as long as you're there for the meetings and as long as you get all your deadlines done. As a 3D animator, your job should usually just be animating. You'll receive a Leica or an animatic, which is essentially a series of 2D drawings indicating what sort of poses or what sort of feel the client wants the animator to portray. For example, this right here, you might get something like this, you know? You got this guy hacking away and they're like, yes, we want this. And then you gotta be like, okay. Well, that doesn't really give me much to work with, but I'll see what I can do. So now it's time for blocking. So you got the general idea what you have to do. Now it's time for you to block the key poses of your animation. So this is where you create your main poses, hitting them at the right time. You have your animation in step mode. You set it out so the timing works. And if you guys don't know what step mode is, again, we talked about it in previous videos. I'll just link to it in the card to the top left of the screen. And this is also the time to record your reference. So once you have a general idea what you have to do, you record a reference and you start putting in the key poses. And once you finished up your first blocking pass, your lead or your supervisor will give you notes on changes they'd like you to make. Now blocking is very important because it's a lot less time consuming than jumping straight into animation. Imagine if you fully animated a scene and then your lead or your supervisor doesn't like certain poses or doesn't like the timing of certain things. That means you just got to go back and redo all that work again. But when it's just major poses, you can just move the timing or change the pose itself since you haven't done any in-betweens yet. Okay, now you got your blocking notes and you can work on them. After you work on them, you can take a look at your reference again and try and visualize exactly how the motion is happening. When you have a reference and it's still fresh in your mind, you just recorded it recently, you can think about what parts of your body was moving to create that sort of motion. You can try and imagine the weight shifts. And it's always good to get out of your chair and mimic the motion. And each time you mimic the motion, you want to think about different parts of your body and how it's reacting to other parts. This is really important because once you have an understanding of how the motion is happening, you'll know how to make it more realistic on the screen. Okay, so you got your reference, you got your in-betweens, but you're not done. Now you have to send your shot to your lead or supervisor again for approval or for more notes. This will continue either until you die or, no, I'm kidding. This will continue until the end date or until all the shots are approved. So there's been times where I've had shots come back and come back and come back until it had to be sent to the client. But yeah, so let's say all your notes are done. Your supervisor approved all your shots. You finished the blocking, you finished the animation. You're done, right? No. Your shots have just gone to the client, and now the client, who usually doesn't really know what they really want, hits you with a crazy whack change request that was never part of the original Leica. Well, guess what? You gotta do what you gotta do. they're paying your paycheck. And I kid you guys not, this is an actual note I got. I finished animating a character, and I was essentially told to strip all the animation after it was done, after it was approved, and have the character stand still. I'm not making this up, this is an actual note. So these notes will come in while you're working on other episodes or the next batch of shots. So for example, once the shot is sent to the client, you start working on the blocking of the next episode. So episode 1 is sent to the client, and you're doing the blocking for episode 2. And then once you get your blocking notes from your animation supervisor or lead, your client notes will usually come back. So the following week, while you're working on episode 2 animation, you're also working on the client fixes as well. And this will usually continue where you're working on 3 different episodes at the same time. It's also good to keep in mind that this is all just for TV production and in particular kids entertainment. So, you know, different studios work differently, but from my experience in TV, in the TV industry, this has been the workflow, this has been the work environment. So, if after hearing all of this you still want to be an animator, if I haven't scared you off, there's only one thing you gotta do. You gotta smash that like button. That's right, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, stay notified of future videos, and happy animating, guys.